my great pleasure to now pass over to Megan. I'm going to read out your biography. Megan has worked in a range of public libraries for a library systems vendor and is currently applications librarian at Monash University. She has an undergraduate degree in information science and postgraduate qualifications in business administration and information systems. Her current role includes responsibility for the management of ex libris applications at Monash University, primarily ALMA and Primo. Megan has been a member of the joint Igloo and Illuna ALMA working group for the last 5 years and represents Monash University in the ALMA UX design project. Megan is the current ANZREG committee chair. Megan is going to be presenting on the 2017 ANZREG update.
Okay, so I know this is the last presentation before lunch, so bear with me. I suppose I'm going to start today's presentation just by talking very briefly about how quickly the ANZREG committee can move when it's required to do so. At the beginning of this year, ANZREG called for nominations to the committee, and I put my hand up for to be a committee member. And then within 3 months I was variously the chair-elect, and now I am the ANZREG chair, which was a bit of a shock. And it's an understatement to say I'm uncertain about whether it was a good idea to take on the role, but I'm still feeling my way. However, with the support of the committee members, and they have been great. So I'd like to display the names and roles of the members of the committee. And if I could get everybody who is on the committee just to stand up. I'm the chair, as I've said, Sue Harmer, who's the secretary, and then our members. Not everybody's able to be here today, but Jenny, Annette and Kate is here, and Julie and Helen weren't able to attend. So I suppose what I'm going to do is talk about the activities that ANZREG has been involved in since the beginning of the year, as that was the start of my involvement, or formal involvement with the committee, and then look ahead to what we're thinking about for the next year. Since March, when I became chair of the committee, we've basically been planning this conference. This is the first year that the conference has been run at the same time as the Ex Libris Directors' Day, which will take place on Wednesday and Thursday this week at the State Library of Victoria. And this year the conference has been extended from a 2-day event to the 2-day conference here in the city and the Best Practice and Developers Days that will take place at the Monash Caulfield campus. The intent of the Elmer and Primo Best Practice is for Elmer and Primo users to demonstrate and debate on best practice workflows, while the Developers Day is an opportunity for more technically skilled to swap custom scripts, talk about their API integrations, and work to extend the functionality available to us in Elmer and Primo. The ANZREG committee also runs a series of webinars, show and tells. Sue Harmer, the secretary of our committee, has been the driving force behind this program, and it's she that's organised a presentation by Jessie Donoghue in March this year, talking about analysing zero search results to improve user experience, and the upcoming session that we have on June 26th, where Tony Way is going to talk about discovery services and system librarian, talk about reduce workflow wastes by leveraging the Elmer mobile application. So I hope people are planning to join that session. Also, having just returned from Illuna, which was run about a week ago, I can say that there were a number of sessions at Illuna, and that were really interesting sessions, thought-provoking and valuable, that we're hoping to be able to ask presenters who did the presentations at Illuna to host for us as WebEx sessions over the next year. If people here went to Illuna and were interested in particular sessions or thought there was value in running those sessions for this group, please get in touch with the committee and let us know, and we'll see what we can do to organise that. Okay. So the other role that the ANZREG committee has is to follow up issues, and a number of different members of working groups, and Dave spoke about this. We've had two significant issues that we've worked on this year. One was the stability of the APAC cloud infrastructure and the 7-hour outage that we all experienced earlier this year. I suppose one of the good things about that outage was that it's a outage that was caused by a known cause. When Ex Libris did the root cause analysis, they were able to identify it was their work practice that had caused the downtime, and they've now changed that work practice. Hopefully we won't see that happen again. And the other issue that we are following up, which has also been touched on already today, is the risk inherent in Ex Libris only maintaining a single PCI environment, and the fact that when that environment went down a couple of weeks, well, must have been a week and a half ago, that took out PCI for the entire international community. So that's contributing to Ex Libris's commitment to look at what other options are available to them in maintaining that PCI infrastructure. The issue was raised with Ex Libris at IGLU by the Eluna Steering Committee and by the Elma and Primo working groups, and it was also raised in a general forum. Ex Libris has undertaken to explore the options, as everybody else has said, and I know that is just company speak for we're trying to pretend it didn't happen. But they will look at implementing a more robust environment, and again, as was mentioned before, this is a question that we're going to put to Ex Libris in the Q&A tomorrow, and it will be interesting to see their response to this group. So finally, I want to touch on the plans that we have for 2018. In the next year, we're interested in reviewing the ANZREG bylaws, and we'll be presenting the revised bylaws at the ANZREG conference next year. Looking at the web page design, we'd like to review the design of that page and make it a little bit more relevant to our users, and reviewing our annual business plan just so that we have a statement of our intents and purposes for the year. So all that's left is to thank you for your support of ANZREG, for coming here today, and hope that over the next 3 days we learn a little, teach a little, and have a bit of fun. Thanks very much. Yes, if you'd like to ask a question.
So my question is, what is going to happen with nerves? I mean, things have changed with, different options and stuff like that. Is nerves still seen as the major thing that's going to determine what product design is going to happen?
I don't think NERS has ever been seen as the major influencer in the design of the product. It is the major tool that the user community has to influence the development of the product, and that is still recognised as very important. The Ideas Centre, where you can submit ideas, and Ex Libris may, at their discretion, pick those ideas up.
It does seem to be the one that's coming through a lot more than the NERS one.
Yeah, and I suppose, and Dave can contribute to this, I suppose what I'd say is NERS is the opportunity that the user community has to put forward our priorities, and that is what makes it an important voting process. Helen talked a little bit about the discussion that took place in the Elma working group meeting at Eluna. Elma particularly faces a challenge with the NERS process. This year we looked at 550 issues. If everybody has pet issues on that list and they all vote for them, it dissipates the value of the vote extensively. We talked about the possibility of taking a more strategic approach to voting, which was not picked up at the primary level, but it is something that we could certainly look at through ANZREG at a regional level.
The big issue is ideas exchange is a way for Ex Libris to get your ideas, and as Megan said, Ex Libris are not committed to developing any of the ideas that have been put up. What they'll do is they'll look at the idea, they'll investigate it, and they can turn around and say, sorry, we're not going to do it. So until you see a plan, that's the interesting bit, and plan doesn't indicate when they plan to do it. That's the big function. With the NERS formal process, that back ends to the Ex Libris development agreement that Luna and Igloo have with Ex Libris. So if something gets the top 5 votes from the community and meets the number of development points we have allocated to that product, Ex Libris are committed to developing. And that's the difference between the two things. We have used the NERS process to get some things through for the ALMA where they said, we're not going to do that. Well, sorry, it's number one, you better find out how to do it. And they actually had to put the time and effort in to sort out, that was the number of rows you can export out of ALMA. They were going to only do 64,000, so they actually had to investigate it and spend time and effort to sort it out, and now they've opened this implementation. So there's those subtle differences between the two processes. So the more hairy stuff, you want to push the NERS really, basically.
People are looking, or the committees are looking at ways so that the minor little things that come up in the NERS is going to start being weeded out. Because you're quite right, there were the 500 things with the ALMA, and a large number of them were small little things.
Yeah.
Vital for people, I understand. But that can be on the ideas exchange.
So, Andrew?
I was on the resource sharing filtering, but I did have a general look at a lot of the NERS, and to me, I found that we were getting down from the structural things in the first NERS ballot to the huge issues in the second, and I think in this ballot we're seeing many more issues that are more at the everyday use level. So, for instance, the change in the rules of the way recalls work. That's a really big thing. It affects many, many libraries. It's not at that level, it's not at that level, it's at this level. And I think we're seeing more things at this level. But certainly a regional perspective is the thing that I think does need to focus on, but getting people to focus on them and then all the regions doing the same thing, that will be the issue of how that's managed.
And I suppose I'd like to add to that, I don't think we can wait for other regions to make decisions on how they're going to manage that. We need to take the lead on that if we want to set an agenda for the Australian environment, Australian and New Zealand environment. The other comment that I'd make is that one proposal that was put forward at the product working group meeting was that there was a much tighter requirement for people to submit an issue to NERS, and the committee is looking at developing probably a web-based document that will require people to submit an issue including screenshots and full explanation of an issue before they can submit it to NERS, on the principle that you have to make a fairly solid commitment to an issue if you're going to invest that level of work into it, and hopefully that will filter out some of the issues that are probably a little bit more institutional rather than broader. Any other questions?
A lot of the enhancements are because they've come back with both reports and come back with
Yeah.
and the enhancement requests are any push from actually this way.
Yeah, that's a difficult question because, sorry, to repeat that question, the question was many of the issues that are reported in NERS as developments are bugs rather than new developments, and how can we manage that? We raised that issue with Ex Libris, and they tell us that if they refer an issue to NERS, it is an enhancement, it is not a bug. So the basic question is a definition of what is a bug or is an enhancement. And I think that's something that we might talk to the steering committee about rather than trying to handle at the product working group level, because it's a broader issue across all of the working groups. It's not simply an ALMA or a Primo issue. I'm not sure. The question was, will the new Alma UI provide a fix for some of the bugs that have been reported in NIS in the past, and whether we need to wait and evaluate that. The new UI is not a functional change to the product. It is a change to the look and feel and to the ergonomics of the application. So if there are functional issues that people have experienced in Alma in the past, they'll probably still be there. It's really only that the screens are more consistently presented, the buttons are placed in the same relative position across the screen, that there are more sticky features within the environment that makes it easier to use and less time spent on going to very long drop-down lists and selecting options. And I encourage you to come to our session. Karen and I are going to present a session at the Alma Best Practice Day to have a look at the new UI, and I encourage people to come to that. Okay, any other questions? Thank you very much. Lunch will be served in the foyer behind us, and I hope you enjoy.